After nearly 2 decades at the helm of one of the largest financial institutions in the world, one truth has become impossible to ignore. Retirement success is no longer just about how much you save, it's about where you live. Most people think retirement planning is about portfolios, withdrawal rates, and market returns. Those things matter. But what quietly determines whether retirement wealth survives or erodes is something far less discussed: state-level financial behavior. Over the years, I've watched states take two very different paths. Some build systems that attract retirees, protect savings, and grow their tax base organically. Others delay hard decisions, overpromise benefits, underfund obligations, and eventually turn to the same group for relief: retirees. This isn't ideology. It's arithmetic. When a state promises pensions it can't afford, it has only three options: cut benefits, increase debt, or raise taxes. Cutting benefits is politically explosive. Borrowing has limits. That leaves taxes, property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, fees, surcharges, and new temporary measures that never go away. Retirees are uniquely vulnerable in this system. They often own homes, they have visible income streams from pensions, IRAs, and Social Security, and they don't have the flexibility of younger workers to relocate quickly or replace income. As we approach 2026, these pressures are accelerating. Unfunded pension liabilities across multiple states have reached levels that can no longer be ignored. Demographic shifts are making the problem worse, not better. Fewer workers are supporting more retirees, and the math simply doesn't work without increasing the burden on those who remain. But this is why geography now plays a role. Equivalent to asset allocation. Two retirees with identical savings can experience dramatically different outcomes depending on where they live. One preserves purchasing power for decades. The other watches costs rise faster than income until difficult choices become unavoidable. What makes 2026 particularly dangerous is the convergence of several trends. First, state pension systems are reaching inflection points. Many were structured decades ago with optimistic assumptions about growth, population expansion, and workforce participation. Those assumptions no longer hold. Investment returns have underperformed projections. Longevity has increased. Contribution bases have shrunk. Second, remote work has permanently altered state tax dynamics. High-tax states that relied on commuters and dense urban employment centers are now facing structural revenue gaps. The response has not been reform, it has been enforcement, audits, and expanded taxation authority. Third, inflation has reset baseline living costs. Even if inflation moderates, prices do not revert. Property taxes assessed on higher valuations remain elevated. Insurance premiums rise. Utility costs climb. For retirees on fixed or semi-fixed incomes, this creates persistent pressure. Fourth, political incentives reward short-term fixes over long-term discipline. It is far easier to raise taxes incrementally than to restructure pension promises or reduce spending. That makes retirees a predictable revenue source. These realities don't show up in glossy retirement brochures. They appear quietly in budget documents, actuarial tables, and migration data, the kind of information large financial institutions track carefully. The uncomfortable truth is that some states are already past the point of painless adjustment. Their choices going forward will involve trade-offs that directly affect residents' wallets. This is why the question, "Where should I retire?" has become as important as "How much do I need to retire?" In the next sections, I'll walk through 7 states that stand out, not because they are unpleasant or undesirable, but because their financial structure makes them hazardous. For long-term retirement stability, these are not short-term issues, they are systemic. And once retirees are locked in, owning property, building social ties, establishing medical care, exiting becomes far more expensive. Understanding these risks before 2026 gives you something invaluable: choice. The first state retirees should approach with extreme caution is Illinois. Illinois represents a textbook case of deferred consequences. The state carries over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, obligations already earned by public workers but not funded. That liability doesn't disappear. It compounds. To service it, Illinois relies heavily on property taxes, which are among the highest in the nation. Homeownership, often considered a retirement anchor, becomes a recurring liability. Even modest homes generate thousands of dollars annually in taxes that rise regardless of income. Add increasing sales taxes, fuel taxes, and registration fees, and the cost pressure becomes constant. Compounding the issue is population loss. As residents leave, the remaining tax base shrinks, forcing higher burdens on those who stay. New Jersey follows a similar pattern, but with even higher baseline costs. Property taxes in New Jersey routinely exceed 2.5% of home value annually. Income taxes are layered and aggressive. Estate taxes can erode generational wealth. Everyday expenses, housing, healthcare, transportation, exceed national averages by wide margins. The result is simple math. A retirement lifestyle that feels comfortable elsewhere becomes expensive here. Over a multi-decade retirement, the difference can exceed $500,000. Connecticut adds another dimension. Economic stagnation. High taxes would be easier to tolerate if offset by strong growth. Instead, Connecticut has experienced decades of corporate departures and limited job creation. As high-income taxpayers leave, the remaining population bears greater responsibility for funding state obligations, utilities, and energy costs. Further strain retirees. Aging demographics amplify the challenge. Fewer workers, more retirees, and rising healthcare demand create a fiscal imbalance with no easy resolution. California is often defended on lifestyle grounds, and understandably so. But from a retirement finance perspective, it is increasingly unforgiving. High income taxes, expensive housing, and elevated utility costs intersect with unique long-term risks. Wildfire exposure, water scarcity, infrastructure stress, and massive unfunded retirement obligations. Addressing these issues requires money, and California consistently turns to higher taxes and fees. For retirees living on planned distributions, unpredictability is the enemy. California offers many things, but predictability is not one of them. New York's challenges have intensified in the post-remote work era. The erosion of commuter tax revenue has left persistent budget gaps. The response has been aggressive residency enforcement, audits, and expanded interpretations of tax nexus. Retirees with business interests, investments, or family ties to New York face ongoing exposure. Estate taxes further complicate legacy planning. Potentially diverting assets away from heirs. Maryland presents a subtler risk. While taxes are high statewide, services and infrastructure are concentrated near Washington, D.C., retire elsewhere, and the equation becomes unfavorable. Premium taxes without premium access. Combined with pension obligations and recurring tax increases, the long-term outlook is challenging. Hawaii completes the list. Paradise carries a price. Geographic isolation inflates costs across every category: housing, food, utilities, healthcare. While the environment is appealing, the financial strain often surprises retirees after relocation. Healthcare costs are particularly problematic, with gaps between Medicare coverage and local expenses. For many, the budget math simply fails. Each of these states differs in culture and climate, but they share a core issue: structural imbalance. Obligations exceed sustainable revenue, and retirees sit at the intersection of visibility, stability, and taxable capacity. If some states quietly erode retirement wealth, others do the opposite. They protect it by design. Florida remains the most prominent example. No state income tax. No tax on retirement income. No estate tax. Property taxes remain moderate relative to value, and healthcare infrastructure has expanded specifically to serve aging populations. Texas offers similar tax advantages with a broader economic base. While property taxes can be higher, the absence of income tax and lower overall living costs often offset the difference. Employment growth and housing supply help stabilize prices. Tennessee combines tax efficiency with affordability. Retirement income is largely untaxed. Property taxes are low, and cost of living remains below national averages. Healthcare systems continue expanding to meet retiree demand. North Carolina provides balance, moderate taxes, diverse geography, strong healthcare networks, and reasonable housing costs make it attractive to retirees seeking flexibility without extremes. Arizona offers climate advantages and specialized healthcare ecosystems tailored to age-related care. Retirement income treatment and overall affordability remain competitive. The common thread among these states is not generosity, it is sustainability. They align spending with revenue, encourage population inflows, and avoid overpromising benefits that future taxpayers cannot support. Relocating for retirement, however, is not purely a financial exercise. Done poorly, it can introduce new risks. Done strategically, it can unlock decades of security. A gradual transition often works best. Spending extended periods in a target state allows retirees to test healthcare access, community fit, and costs. Realities before committing fully. Understanding residency rules is essential. Some states aggressively assert tax residencies based on time, property ownership, or economic ties. Establishing domicile requires deliberate action, not assumption. Timing matters. The year in which you establish residency can affect how distributions, capital gains, and asset sales are taxed. Poor timing can erase years of planning. Healthcare access deserves priority. Proximity to specialists, hospitals, and support systems often outweighs marginal tax savings. Finally, professional guidance is not optional at this level. Coordinating tax strategy, estate planning, and relocation logistics often produces savings far exceeding advisory costs. The bottom line is simple but profound. Retirement geography is one of the highest impact financial decisions you will ever make. Over a lifetime, the difference between a supportive state and a hostile one can easily reach $200,000 to $500,000, sometimes more. That is, time, security, and peace of mind. You spent decades earning your savings. Where you live should protect them, not slowly confiscate them. As 2026 approaches, the gap between retirement-friendly states and retirement-hostile states will widen. Those who act early retain control. Those who wait may find their options shrinking. Choose wisely. Your future self is depending on it.